Chapter 1835 Chernobyl Assembly. This kind of meeting was not the first time, and most of the people there were familiar faces. Zhang Yi found a seat and sat down casually. But this time, everyone looked at him more carefully than before. It was a scrutinizing look, a fearful look, and, of course, more of awe. Perhaps no one expected that Huashu country, chaos, which has always been known for absolute defense, would actually achieve the most amazing results on the battlefield of Fremons. Not every team has fought against the upper demon god. But Marana's reputation is very famous in Europe. Fremons has had a lot of disputes with neighboring countries. Marana has never lost a battle, nor has he left any survivors. Now, even the opponent that Marana couldn't solve was killed by Zhang Yi. Even if they joined forces, it was enough to show Zhang Yi's terrifying strength. As soon as Zhang Yi sat down, Brian, who was sitting on a chair not far away, jumped down immediately, walked to Zhang Yi on his two hind legs, and his tail swayed wildly behind him. "Hi, bro. I've heard about your story. Ha, good job." It nudged Zhang Yi with its elbow. Zhang Yi was a little helpless about this dog, who was so friendly. The atmosphere at the scene was obviously very serious, but it made people feel a little funny when it appeared. After all, it is not easy for ordinary humans to accept being called bro by a dog. "Hello, Brian. I heard that you won beautifully." Zhang Yi also responded politely. Brian put his hands behind his back and smiled indifferently. "It's not a difficult task. I just took a little action to deal with those guys. You know, I am the most powerful dog in the world after all, a purebred, noble Labrador. I even suggested to the Columbia executives to name a new breed of dog for me, called Brian Dog. How about it? Isn't it cool?"
"Cool, right?"
Zhang Yi. His silence at this moment was deafening, because he really had nothing to say. Brian approached familiarly, ignoring the strange eyes of others. Even Newton had a poker face and didn't dare to care about Brian's affairs. After all, he had used Brian to block the attack of the demon machine not long ago. What can I do for you?" It was hard for Zhang Yi to get angry at a Labrador dog that shook its tail like an electric fan. Brian winked at Zhang Yi, then leaned close to his ear and said, "I think our strength is the most matched among these people. So if there is any action next, we can team up. What do you think of this suggestion?" Zhang Yi glanced at him. What a perceptive dog. It wanted to come over to get close to him, and then wanted Zhang Yi to take them with him in the next action. Zhang Yi knew almost nothing about Brian, and he didn't know what his ability was. But to be able to kill an entire mechanical army, he must have combat capabilities above the bishop level, so he didn't neglect it. "I will definitely consider your proposal carefully," Zhang Yi said with a smile. Brian's eyes flashed with excitement. "Then we have a deal." After saying that, he actually dragged the chair over by himself and put it next to Zhang Yi, and then raised an exaggerated fake smile at the corner of his mouth. Zhang Yi. After waiting for a while, representatives from various countries arrived in the conference room one after another. Zhang Yi looked at their faces carefully. Some of the people who attended the last meeting were no longer there. The remaining people all had impressive strength. The three giants, including Bodaga and Morana from the Pantheon, also came here. In the middle of the conference room, a three-dimensional image of Chernobyl was projected. This time, it was not Bodaga who spoke, but Aliyev with a big back hair. "Everyone, the current situation is clear at a glance. The last strength of the mechanical civilization is concentrated in the Chernobyl area. We have fought for so long and are about to win this war between humans and mechanical civilization. So I propose that everyone present gather their forces and launch a final general attack on them." In the three-dimensional projection, the intelligence about the Fremons reconnaissance team was clearly displayed in the form of data. Newton asked, "Is that all?" He stared at Aliyev. "Only the information about mechanical life forms? The mechanical army is indeed terrible, but it is not the biggest threat to the coalition forces of all countries in the world today. What they are afraid of is that the mechanical civilization has other backups. For example, the demon body with extraordinary destructive power, or deadly weapons of mass destruction, etc. I'm very sorry. This is all the information we have so far." Aliev said in a deep voice. His expression was very frank. Our war with the mechanical civilization has lasted for a long time, and their armed forces have been fully demonstrated. It is impossible that there are any hidden super-powerful armed forces. Even if there are, we can't detect them. But now, we are only one step away from the final victory. Everyone, we must act immediately and not give them a chance to breathe. Bodaga added, you can all see the changes in Chernobyl. We don't know what they want to do. But I know that if they really do it, then what awaits us may be a disaster of destruction. The others fell into a brief silence until the silence was broken by a loud voice. It has come to this time. There is no point in shrinking back. We have achieved a comprehensive victory on the battlefield. Let's complete the last step without any hesitation. Zhang Yi looked at the man who was speaking. He was a white and thin man in his 30s with a 3:7 split hair and a delicate beard on his lips. He looked gentle and refined, but his eyes were full of confidence and arrogance. He is the leader of the aliens in the Europa Alliance, the god king of Asgard, Odin. When being stared at by everyone, Adolf Muller, codenamed Odin, slowly stood up, adjusted his elegant and solemn suit with his hands, and then said, the course of history is irreversible. The arrival of the end of the world has brought about earth-shaking changes in the world. We must keep moving forward and eliminate all threats that endanger our human survival. Do you think that if you let go of the remnants of the mechanical civilization now, they will be grateful in the future? No. As long as they can catch their breath, they will definitely take extremely crazy revenge on humans. He raised a finger. So, there is no doubt that we must end this war as quickly as possible. Adolf's words made many people nod silently. That's right, the battlefield is always changing rapidly, and it is impossible to wait until everything is fully prepared before going to war. King Arthur followed with a faint voice. I agree to launch a general offensive. After that, representatives of other forces also expressed the same opinion. Zhang Yi was not in a hurry to make a comment. He waited until others had expressed their opinions before he nodded lightly. As the inhuman with the strongest ability to preserve his life, with so many powerful inhumans going on missions together, as long as he doesn't encounter overly terrifying opponents, he will definitely be the one who survives to the end. The meeting went very smoothly, with almost no opposition. Perhaps everyone was eager to reap the last legacy of mechanical civilization. Or perhaps everyone is worried that if things are delayed, some terrifying changes will occur. Aliev's face showed a relieved expression, and he knocked on the table, making a dull dong-dong sound. Well, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, all troops will assemble and set off for Chernobyl. It's time to end this. Zhang Yi just sat there, silently watching the three people of Bodaka begin to make combat deployments. This is a major mobilization, in which all major countries and forces in the world are participating, and the final decisive battle will also require the strong support of all parties. They had prepared for the worst-case scenario, which was that if they found the situation was not good, Zhang Yi, a user with space ability, would take everyone away. Then all the countries in the world that possess the god of death of love will simultaneously pour out a large number of god of death of love, directly destroying the entire Chernobyl. After the meeting, Zhang Yi and others went back one after another to prepare for the decisive battle. Zhang Yi had almost nothing to prepare because he always kept everyone around him ready to fight at any time. All night long, the sound of Samran City's war machines could be heard. Various troops were mobilizing, and a large number of high-tech weapons were taken out from their secret arsenals. Zhang Yi couldn't sleep well at night, so he got up from the bed. The tight black battle suit on his body gave him the explosive power of a tiger or a leopard and the agility of a monkey. He took out the Qianlong armor from the alien space and put it on himself carefully, repeating the process of checking the equipment that he had repeated thousands of times. It was confirmed that there was no problem with the status of the divine refining. The nuclear bombs, the shield-breaking spears, and the entire arsenal in the alien space were connected to the intelligent system normally and could be launched at any time. Only then did he disappear into the night. Swish! The dimensional gate opened, and Zhang Yi appeared above the city of Samran. The huge northern city under his feet was exceptionally bright at this time, and there were fully armed soldiers everywhere. On the road that was wide enough to accommodate more than a dozen cars at the same time, huge missile launchers were lined up in a long dragon. Fremons really spent a lot of money for this battle. However, Zhang Yi knew that as long as he could win, everything Fremons had paid would be worth it. So far, the two parties who have gained the most are him and Fremons. Because Fremons can take half of the resources obtained by all other action forces. That huge army of mechanical life forms will become the foundation for Fremons' resurgence in the future. It can even make them the second mechanical civilization. Good luck to all of us. After Zhang Yi finished speaking, he turned and fled in the direction of Chernobyl. Under the night sky, a long-haired girl sat on the sofa in front of the window. Her legs in white over-the-knee socks were placed on the coffee table. She looked out the window nonchalantly, a smile slowly appearing at the corners of her mouth. Zhang Yi located the direction of Chernobyl and used his ability to travel through space to go there in the cold night wind. Before the war, he had to see the battlefield with his own eyes so that he could feel at ease. A few minutes later, he arrived in the northern federal region where Chernobyl was located and was immediately stunned by the scene before him. The Earth was now densely populated with mechanical life forms in standby mode. The white armor reflected a cold light at night, like an endless tomb of machines. It is boundless in all directions. It is hard to imagine how much resources are needed to build such a huge mechanical army. However, this only brought Zhang Yi a visual shock. What really made him feel uneasy was the black light covering the sky in the very distant area, in the direction of Chernobyl. His intelligence system could not determine what that energy body was, but it was not an abnormal energy according to common sense. Just one look at it can make people feel very uneasy, and their souls are restless. It seemed like it was something extremely dangerous, reminding people to escape as quickly as possible. Zhang Yi landed in an area and looked there from afar. He didn't dare to get too close, even though he was already considered the top master of concealment in the human world today, but no one could guarantee that the mechanical civilization would not be able to discover his powerful existence. He couldn't see what was discovered in Chernobyl, so he had to take the opportunity to personally confirm the scale of the mechanical army here. After doing all this, he hesitated for a while and did not choose to continue investigating further, so he turned back to Samran City. Many people had trouble sleeping that night. The same is true for Zhang Yi, but fortunately Zhou Kur helps him adjust his body functions, so he won't feel tired or sleepy even if he doesn't sleep or rest for a long time. Nothing special happened that night, but it was like the calm before the storm, leaving everyone feeling nervous and excited. On the second day, the army assembled as agreed. The entire Fremons dispatched a spectacular force. Those special forces members were armed to the teeth, carrying the most powerful modern weapons and equipment. Even if they did not have special abilities, they could play a role on the battlefield comparable to that of people with strength below 5,000 points. However, such a magnificent scene can only serve as cannon fodder in this battle, used to help the alien troops clear out mass-produced mechanical life forms. The core combat force is naturally the 3 alien armies of Fremons and the Epsilon-level aliens of the Temple of the Gods. Zhang Yi and his team appeared here. There was no soul-stirring oath-taking ceremony. After the agreed time, they set off for Chernobyl, as they had said yesterday. Zhang Yi has learned from Meng Yuanjun that several love-death launch chambers aimed at the north by Huaxi State have been opened and are targeting the Chernobyl area. I'm afraid it's not just Huaxi Kingdom, Colombia, Britannia, and other countries have also made the same preparations. One large transport plane after another was lined up at the airport, waiting to transport large troops and various large armed equipment to the battlefield. It is true that Zhang Yi's space shuttle can transport people, but if he wants to continuously open the dimensional door to take people through, he can only rely on Mu Yan's shadow space to carry a large number of people at one time. There were hundreds of strange people from various countries present, so it would be better to let them go there on a transport plane so as to facilitate collective action. Brian walked up to Zhang Yi in a familiar manner, nudged Zhang Yi with his elbow, and gave him a beaming look. "Hi, bro. When you go to the battlefield, don't forget to team up with me." Zhang Yi glanced at it, then looked at Newton not far away, the new Magneto, Elsa Goodman, and the vampire army Abel behind them. "Aren't you going to line up for the transport plane?" At this point, the white Labrador in front of me suddenly put his hands on his hips proudly, and his tail swayed behind him like a small electric fan. "Man, I am the great supernova, the smartest dog in the world. Of course I won't go to Chernobyl by ordinary means like those ordinary people." Zhang Yi's expression suddenly froze, and then he silently distanced himself from him. Brian likes to wag his tail when he's excited, which is nothing special. That's just how dogs are. But Brian's tail accidentally hit Zhang Yi's thigh, which felt like a steel bar hitting him, and the pain made Zhang Yi's eyes twitch. The physical strength of this thing is damn terrifying. Zhang Yi was unable to speak because of the pain. Otherwise, he would have gasped and made a hissing sound like a rattlesnake. Brian thought Zhang Yi didn't believe him, and said angrily, "Okay, I'll show you how powerful I am. But don't think you are the most powerful space-based person in the world. In fact, I may be stronger than you." As he spoke, he pulled out a white pistol from the big pocket of his combat uniform and fired a shot forward. A green circular space channel immediately appeared before our eyes. Zhang Yi looked at the passage curiously, touched his chin, and said, "What if you are a space-based ability user?" "Oh no," Brian answered while busying himself with something. "This is something the professor researched. It's the brain of a person with spatial abilities. You know, the control center of the ability is in the brain." "Oh, I need to confirm the coordinates first." Brian carefully adjusted the coordinates to avoid accidentally falling into the camp of the Mechanical Legion, while on the other side Newton had already lined up with his men and ran in quickly. "Would you like to join us?" Brian smiled flatteringly. Zhang Yi thought about it doubtfully. Brian waited for 2 seconds, and then began to urge him anxiously. "Well, can you go faster? It takes a lot of energy to maintain the operation of the space channel." Zhang Yi decided to give it a try, so he nodded. "Okay." He looked the most relaxed because everyone was in the space, so Zhang Yi put his arm around Brian's neck and walked into the space passage with the white Labrador arm in arm. The feeling of entering it is a bit psychedelic. I don't know why the colors of the passage are so colorful, which can easily make people feel nauseous and want to vomit. After a while, Zhang Yi and Brian fell out of the space channel and appeared on a barren and gloomy land. "Yeah, no problem." Brian confirmed the coordinates and said with great satisfaction. Zhang Yi quickly asked the intelligence system to confirm the current coordinates and found that the straight-line distance from here to Chernobyl was about 200 kilometers. The positioning is quite accurate. Zhang Yi couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Of course, the error range is no more than 50 kilometers. This is the most advanced in human biology technology in the world. Brian put his hands on his hips proudly. Zhang Yi couldn't help but frown. But isn't this still using aliens? Brian looked at Zhang Yi with a strange expression. Why not use it if it's useful? Hey, bro. To use a popular saying in your Huashu country, why not endure the hardship when there's nothing to suffer? Come on, you're right. Zhang Yi looked at Newton, the most reliable of them all, and said, I came here yesterday, but I haven't thought of a good way to investigate yet. What about you? Do you have any preparations? Newton adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses. I contacted the Natural Science Association headquarters the day before yesterday and asked them to help analyze the abnormal energy reaction in that area. But the result, he shook his head, is impossible to predict with current human technology. If there is any sign, I will not agree to blindly launch a decisive battle like this. Zhang Yi smiled and said, Do you think this is irrational? No, Newton said calmly, without any emotion. This is the smartest thing to do right now. If almost all the top mutant teams in the world cannot completely defeat them, then the destruction of mankind is only a matter of time. What difference does it make whether we do it or not? Zhang Yi had done everything he could at this point. He did not take any further action, but instead carefully observed the movements ahead through a smart device to prevent the war from suddenly starting. After a while, there were bursts of roars in the sky. Zhang Yi, Newton, and others looked up and saw a dark cloud covering the sky and the sun. Boom! 50 of Fremon's most advanced transport aircraft, the F-37, which can maintain long-distance transportation even in the coldest conditions in the Arctic, appeared here. After the end of the world, most fighter jets were eliminated, but 3 years was enough time for major military and industrial powers to upgrade their equipment and industrial facilities. This time, almost all of Fremon's F-37 appeared on the battlefield. And soon, the transport planes stopped in this area. Soldiers, heavy artillery, missile launchers, and reaction field equipment began to line up on the battlefield at a very fast speed. The alien troops from various countries also came here. Seeing Zhang Yi, Newton, and others coming here first, they also came over and kept a distance from them. Chernobyl. In the underground space, the six-winged king placed a black multifaceted Rubik's Cube crystal in his hand in midair. It emitted a brilliant black light, illuminating all directions. The black light uncontrollably dissipated from the depths of the earth. The colorful black, at a certain point in space, vibrates and spreads like a tide. Dear viewers, please like, subscribe for more episodes. Thanks.